everybody's nice and clear. Roll the tape.
Except that. Oh, there you are.
Now you're unfrozen.
You were frozen up until just a second ago.
Something was happening. But roll the tape. Get the makeup people here. Let's get on with. I hadn't seen you guys for a long time.
Here we are.
Yeah. March, immigration still going on. Not all of it good stuff, but we're going to do our best.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Trying.
Yeah. I need to
All
get
right.
last meeting space and get into this space now.
Yeah. So why don't we make a list of topics to cover? As you saw, I sent one tape from the NIC conference. Carolyn found another.
Uh-huh.
It was better, I think, than the one I sent.
No, I think the one that you sent, at least I took a lot more notes on that one than I did on the other one.
Yeah, so we should cover them both at least a little bit. We also, you sent the things on the kids, on the unaccompanied minors. And what else do we have?
I don't remember what I've sent. I do remember that one because that was just a few hours ago, but I read a bunch of stuff this afternoon on American Immigration Council. A lot of it critiquing Biden's restrictions on asylum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, so the asylum, and I've heard a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Mr. Garza, anything you want to cover?
No, that sounds pretty comprehensive. If we can do it all.
Yeah, there's a lot there. So let's just put up an update on asylum and where we are. Yesterday, or maybe it was today, I talked to somebody about DACA in the state, because Illinois has the DREAM Act, and that was something that came to the foreground. But let's talk asylum. No more people at the border being let in unless they have an appointment.
Yeah.
5 countries. You got to have a friend in town. You got to have your passport. You got to fly in. You've got to, what was the other requirement? Got to have money.
Yeah.
Of course.
So what do you think? What's the update there? Has the policy, well, they've started the policy, right?
As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah,
I think so.
they started implementing. Anything else? I actually did read El Paso Matters on that because they were giving an update on their city. So let me do a quick a quick jump to the dashboard so I can see if there's any news. Carolyn, I don't remember if you sent an article on asylum.
I don't know that I did.
Okay.
No, because I read it this afternoon while I was schlepping somebody around, but now I'm trying to find it.
Okay.
Is that it? I don't think so. No, that's something different.
So let me flash the dashboard on camera, if you don't mind. Let me pull this to the front. Pull this to MPA. El Paso one. I'm going to pull it. Just wait for everything to update. And now I will share. And I think it's a window. And it didn't show me windows. Okay, there they are. Okay, that's the one. Tell me when you see dashboard looking thing.
Ah, there you go.
There it is.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so as you can tell, I don't know which one you want to see first.
Trouble reading that.
Why don't you just point us to one and talk about it?
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so I'm making it bigger. Migrant releases here on the top left.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of fudged the numbers by making it smaller, not because that's the full picture. Peak was earlier in the year. Right now, the number of migrant releases has decreased quite a bit. I don't know if you can see this blue line,
Yeah.
that trend line.
Okay.
The encounters with the Border Patrol, which can be defined in different ways, as you can tell now that I show you the whole thing, has really gone down,
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
as you can see there. The support that the city is providing, well, hotel occupancies have also gone down. As you can tell, I'm trying to slide it to the far right, but as you can tell, even end of December, they weren't doing it much anymore. But right now they're at zeros. They're not paying for people. And this is support. Oops. And actually, the custody ones is, I think, the one that's important for us in that how many are they holding and are they sending anybody across? That number seems to have not got down that much, so they're holding people more, at least in the El Paso sector. So they're not housing them in any other place. There's not that many, but they're still holding them.
So even though there's fewer people crossing the border, the ones that they are in custody, they're keeping them. They're not letting them.
They're keeping them, or at least keeping them long enough that the average stays up.
Yeah.
Because it's a 7-day rolling average, and while it's gone down to let's say there 2022, so it's not, April last year was about the closer to the number last. No, that was 2022. They don't have anything more recent. Looks like these numbers are old. When I highlight the last one, it's week 34 of 2022. So that's not a fair number. Okay. So anyway, I think what we're seeing is a slowdown at the border, at least in El Paso, which is one of the major crossing points. I think of Laredo, I think of San Diego, because I'm thinking the cities in Mexico, Tijuana, Juarez, Nuevo Laredo, are the three big cities, and that's where they base the Border Patrol sectors, I believe. Anyway, that's the situation there, just to put numbers or a scene to the numbers of asylees that would be coming in. They can say whatever about Biden, except that this seems to have at least rechanneled a lot of people.
Right, which is what the Biden administration needed to save face.
Yeah.
Because the Republicans essentially seem to want zero people crossing the border.
Yeah.
And nothing will satisfy them.
On secure border.
Mm-hmm.
So that narrative right now is bouncing because the border isn't as active as it's been. And I think this last week I saw a couple of articles of people going to the border, the presidentials going to the border. And of course, there's still people crossing, there's still whatever, but it's nowhere near where it was. So if not diffused, at least it's a lot more scattered.
So is this due to policy changes or is this something else?
Well, that's a good question. Has Central America changed?
I don't think so.
Don't think so. Has South America changed? Has especially Venezuela changed?
I don't think so.
Don't think so either. You know, Nicaragua, Cuba, those haven't changed. Their situations are unfortunately not positive. But it seems to be, if it were true of the policy change, it would be that the message that they were trying to send, don't come this way because we're not going to let you in, has been at least partially effective.
It makes me wonder, where are all those people that were at the border that now can't get in? Are they in Mexico in limbo? Are they, I don't know that we know that, the answer to that either. Because a lot of people came and were getting ready to cross the border when that new policy came in, and
Right.
like, so what happens to them?
Yeah, I think I read to you guys a little bit about it might have been New York Times or Washington Post, where they were caught in the middle, and so they got stuck.
Yeah.
And they decided not to go. So in towards the end of January, there was a big caravan coming up from the border there, Guatemala. But on the 22nd of January, at least, I'll show it to you really quick. The Mexican, they've just started a new police in Mexico. Here it is. I want to share the headline there, because a huge caravan that was building up, as you can tell there, it got dissolved there. At least that's what they said back then. There in Tapachula. Tapachula is the first big Mexican city that you get as you...
After Guatemala?
Yeah, from Guatemala. On the main road, there's a couple of smaller ones. One that I've been to, that I was talking to a visitor here yesterday, the day before, and he said, yeah, they're too remote for people to pass through. They want to go... It's too dangerous to pass in between the towns because it's big rivers and big mountains, so most people avoid it. So anyway, there's still people being caught by the Mexican migration officials, but they also, according to this one here, migrants from Haiti, Cuba, and Venezuela left the main plaza in Tapachula because it looks like they just turned themselves in. Not always the wisest idea to turn yourself over to immigration in Mexico, but so
That's interesting. I mean, there's
extract is coming. You know, I went to turn myself in so that they would renovate our maybe documents, because they had said they wouldn't do it anymore, but it looks like they still did it for us. Is the point that he's trying to make. And that's when the policy was announced, that it would take 30,000 a month, right? Was
that a month or total?
No, I think it was a month. They were the policy was, might want to look it up. I'm doing search in Mexico. or on this subject, just to make sure that's what you guys are seeing. 28th, I wanted this is 6 days ago. And that's the most recent, LA Times. I like to search in Spanish because that way I can compare it what's coming up in English. Because sometimes it's like two different worlds. So there you go. It's just the reiteration of the policy on February 21. So they won't be welcome anymore if they come, if they have, if they're coming through a third country. So we won't let you in through Mexico because that's your third country. You need to come directly from your country.
Yeah.
Which means by plane.
Right.
Which means directly from Venezuela to here or whatever else. Which means that people that from Venezuela that went to Ecuador
or Colombia,
they couldn't come because that would be their third country.
Yeah. And they were coming because COVID kind of decimated all their job opportunities there.
Yeah. Their oppressive government. So there you go. It has not yet come into, it hasn't been enacted because there's a 30-day public comment period for this change.
Oh, for the U.S.?
Yeah.
U.S. law?
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. It says it was 6 days ago, but it can't be. Yeah, it says February 21st, but they're still speaking in the future of finalizing Title 42. Oh no, since in December, the Supreme Court said it should still be there. Okay, the numbers are very old actually, so something's happening there, but it's still LA Times, so that's it. Couldn't find anything more, so things have quieted down quite a bit from what I can see. Today, the 27th, on Voice of America. Where is it? Like Radio Free Europe. Still very cold from December. There's a program for Mexicans to be together with their families. The Chileans are trying to block their border. And there's more people being deported thanks to the new policy at the border of Mexico, USA.
So if the Chileans are blocking their borders and some of the people that were coming were Haitians from Chile, that means the Haitians can't go back to Chile.
Yeah. There you go. So this earlier last week, the Colombians are sounding their alarm over the kids that are going through that little piece of Panama onto Panama, which is very, very
treacherous.
Yeah. They're asking for a new TPS for Nicaraguans, and deporting of Ecuadorianos is not being taken very nicely. There was 20 that got into trouble in Arizona. Okay. Nothing more of consequence that I can see, unless you guys see something more.
No.
Okay. I'm going to stop sharing. Is that enough on that, Mr. Garza? You want to comment or?
Well, it's so up in the air as to, it's fascinating to watch these numbers, but it's really hard to know why they're changing. I mean, I can see that people, I guess a lot more people, I take that back. I think a lot more people are cognizant of what's going on far away than there used to be because of the internet. Everybody has a cell phone now, or a lot of people have cell phones, and they can get the news. And if you don't have one yourself, you probably are around someone who has one. So um, I guess when they do announce policy changes like this, it does spread pretty far and wide,
Yeah.
and it must have an effect. But as we mentioned earlier, a lot of people were on the way or have been waiting for a long time, and I don't know where this leaves them.
Well, their numbers are not at zero, right?
Yeah.
So there's still people coming. If there were still people on the way, I don't expect all of them just picked up and went back. Because if they spent all their money getting there,
Yeah, there's no money to get back.
yeah.
Hmm.
I'm going to do a search for, I think one of the gauges would be, is that the Darien Gap. Uh,
How many people are still going through?
yeah, so about 5,000 children crossed it in January, says UNICEF.
Hmm.
Not a small number.
You know, it might be an interesting thing to do for the viewer is put a map up and kind of point out where some of these places are, so people who are not familiar with the area could get a sense of how the movement works and how far away you still are from here
Yeah,
when you go through these places, because it's hard. I have some vague familiarity with this, but it's still hard for me to like picture the distances involved in.
yeah, it's not a small thing. Let me pull up the map of the of Central America there, because it's easy to get lost. You know, the Pan American Highway was connected a long time ago, but if you look at the map, if I can make it. I did have a map, and the map disappeared. So let me go back to another map. So La Panamericana is the Pan American Highway. If I remember right, it was Latin America praises President Kennedy for having funded to complete it. Still the wrong. Here it is.
There we go.
Okay.
So the Darien is between Colombia and Panama.
Yeah, that's what links them. And as I was listening, because I don't know the geography well enough, people get to a certain point and then they get taken by boat, and then the last piece gets done on foot. But these must be centers where people congregate. Yeah, this is actually an article on people following the route, and it is that the tapon is the gap there where there is no roads, when there are villages in between, but people walk to each other because of the treacherousness. The other thing that is in my mind from the narrative was how heavy the mud is in that area. So if we go on a closer look, no, we still come back to that. Isn't that interesting? All of the.
There we go. There.
Well, there you go. So that's the city of Panama. This is from the BBC, it looks like. And what's highlighted in yellow is the hardest part. Then Panama City. then you get back to transportation routes from buses and everything else. As you can see here on the bottom left, then you're in Central America and there's connection between the cities. But it is this area that has very little population and no transportation across it.
Hmm. And it looks
So,
like there's a mountain along the right where your cursor is, a line
yeah,
there.
right now
Are those
going up
mountains?
and down. Certainly looks like it,
Hmm.
because then this looks like water,
Yeah.
and rivers going down to the lowlands down here.
So that looks pretty difficult. It looks like a wall, basically, going all the way up
Yeah,
that one side.
let's see if they've got this is people going through. Uh, there's one I had seen. I showed you this before. Just it's just plain big jungle. Um, that I kept seeing. Oh, that's the nature part of it. This looks like a road. Oh, there you go. So this is how you connect towns in that area.
Wow.
By water. So people actually live there, not a lot, but some do.
Yeah, it's populated. It's funny because as I've traveled in Latin America and also in Africa, so there's one main road, right? Um, and we foreigners, we follow the road because that's the transportation.
Mm-hmm.
When you get off road, sometimes there are what's it called, dirt pathways and whatever else in which vehicles transit. It's just that it's very treacherous, and the road gets washed out, and you have to wait until the season dries out so you can rebuild the road and that kind of stuff. But the main road, let's say in this case the Pan American Highway, it is the main artery between the countries. Mexico was at that level. Now Mexico has nice big toll pay roads, that are, I'm not kidding. I can drive 85, 90 miles an hour. No one's going to bug me. More importantly, it's safe to do so. My car can handle it because the road is nicely paved. Well, I just paid $10, for that section or whatever. It can be expensive, but Mexico is not a country that relies on the Pan American Highway anymore.
Mm.
They did used to go through my city. And way back when, it would take, for what now it takes about, my best friend does it in 2.5 hours. It takes more like three and a half. It used to take like 5 or 6 hours,
Wow.
because the road was a 2-lane road and it followed all the zigzags of the mountains. Now they have carved through big mountains and made it a full, very nice